Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Above the Rim Rundown, where we run down all things NBA. I am one of your hosts, Memo, and right beside me, I've got Hoops. How you doing?
What's going on, man? Overall, I've been doing good for the most part. I will say regular life routine, um work, eat, sleep pretty much. And yeah, it's been going. How you been, man?
Yeah, basically it's the same for me, honestly. Just working. The last week I didn't work at all, for some rude reason, but this week I got back to the grind of everything, and it's been fine. It's been fine. We did get to hang out a little bit today, which was nice. It's been a while since we've done that, so I'm glad we were able to grab
Long
some
overdue for
food.
sure.
Yeah, long overdue. So, yeah, I'm just glad we got to catch the Lakers game a little bit. Just hung out, eat some good food. It was fun. It was fun. Hopefully, we can do something like that really soon again. But yeah, not much other than that.
Definitely.
We could honestly just jump right into it because we got a very exciting episode for this week. We are doing a kind of like, I don't know how we want to call it, like a ranking of all 30 NBA teams from worst to best. Now that the trade deadline is over and everything, the teams are set. We got to see these teams not only play before the trades and like see um, like how well they were able to do before the trades, but we got to see a little bit of some games after the trade. So we got to see Jimmy Butler with the Warriors for a bit, Luka with the Lakers for a bit, and so on. So now that we got to see a little bit of that, we got to see which teams are surprisingly good, which teams are expectedly good. So some teams that are expectedly bad. Like there's a lot of things that went down this year. So we're ranking all 30 teams from worst to best. When you went into making this list, did standings make a big? Was standings like a big reason why certain teams were placed in certain areas, or was there other things you had considered besides the standings?
Well, I think that standings definitely played a really big factor for sure. Um, Then aside from standings, I also incremented like how I think certain teams will fare going forward. Like for example, there may be some teams like the for example, like the um Avs or let's say right now at this very moment, they're kind of like a middle of the pack team. But in the long run, when they get healthier, get back AD, and get back Lively, get back Gafford, and all those other guys, they might be able to make some noise down the road. So I think like that, for example, like teams that might not be like super hot at the moment, but they might be on the come up later, or teams that are doing good at the moment that might drop off later. There were definitely some factors that I also implemented there aside from just the standings simply. Definitely the standings did play a pretty big factor for sure.
Oh yeah, I feel like for definitely certain teams, standings play like a very very big factor. Like if the team standings is like horrendous at the moment, it's safe to say they won't win the championship this year. But with that said, some teams, uh, you know, even though their record might not be the best, I did put them higher than expected due to maybe the players they traded for or expected to have healthier roster moving forward, stuff like that. So I guess those are the ways that we approach the list. So I wonder how similar it will be. We talked about this a little bit earlier today, and we're thinking like our top five and our bottom five are most likely gonna be fairly similar. It's the middle portion where like I have no idea if we're gonna be on the same page or not. But I guess there's only one way to find out, and it's actually by going through this list. We're gonna go in groups of 5, so we're gonna start with the bottom 5 worst teams and then move up from there after discussing each one. And we probably don't have to discuss a lot about the bottom 5, but let's reveal them right now to our shared doc. I'm wondering how similar they're gonna be. I put mine in the doc, just waiting for hoops. But
And they are there.
alright. Oh,
And
exactly the
looks
same.
like exactly the same.
Exactly the same as we predicted. We both know ball. Yeah, I guess, would you like to read through the teams?
Yes, sir. So we at number 30, we got the Wizards. At number 29, we got the Hornets. At number 28, we got the Jazz. At number 27, we got the Pelicans. And at number 26, we got the 76ers. So, as mentioned, both of us, exact same um listing of teams from 30 to 26.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's pretty self-explanatory. All of these teams have been looking quite bad this season. Um, with the Wizards clearly being the worst team in the
Oh yeah,
league by far,
their record's
record-wise.
horrendous right now.
Yeah, they're pretty much like. I mean, we've mentioned this in the past, like last year when Kuz tweeted, at this point, it's just don't be that team. The Wizards ended up being that team, as in like this year's version of last year's Pistons, which is funny. Um, Speaking of which, a little bit off topic, but kind of on topic to Kuz. Did you see earlier this week when he added to his story? Um, can't remember the last time I won 2 games in a row, because he finally won. Had the 2 game win streak with the Bucks.
I didn't see that, but I doubt it's because of him. I've seen like his horrible like shooting splits, so I
Yeah,
doubt it's because of him.
yeah. I don't think it's because of him. It's just the team is much better. But yeah, nonetheless, I think pretty self-explanatory. Um, Wizards are the worst team by easily. Hornets are definitely the second worst team. Matter of fact, they had a historically bad 3 game stretch that we talked about earlier when we met up. How they lost to the Blazers by over 50. They lost to the Kings by like 42, and then they lost to the Warriors by 36. So yeah, not good there. The Jazz, another bad team. Um, one the I believe they're like second worst or worse in the Western Conference, something like that. Pelicans right around the same edge, also really bad right now. Um, Injuries and whatnot playing factor, but just haven't really been the team that at least we expected them to somewhat be like, having just made the playoffs last year. And then number 26, the 76ers. Um, this team had some high expectations going into the season, but reality is they started the year off slow because of injuries. But even when they got a little bit healthy, they just couldn't gel and get the chemistry together. So this was just a completely lost season for the 76ers. And then, of course, earlier in the year, Jared McCain was ruled out for the year. Recently, they also ruled out, I believe today or yesterday, earlier in the week, that Joel Embiid is also going to be out for the season. So I guess the Sixers are about to go full tank mode. Or maybe they already are, to be honest.
Not Paul George. He just said that he was gonna stop making podcasts to focus on winning a championship this year. Like, why did
Yeah,
you decide now to stop making
yeah,
podcasts when your team has been
exactly.
so bad all year and you're kind of part of the problem? This is the worst season in Paul George's career, besides like early like rookie year Paul George. This
Yeah,
is like an atrocious season for him. So yeah,
Definitely.
that and the fact that Joel Embiid is no longer going to be playing the rest of the season is the reason why I ended up having them at this spot. I was thinking of a different team at first that I'm sure we're gonna talk about really soon, but no Joel Embiid anymore. Paul George looking like a bum out there. Like I have no hope for the Sixers. So yeah, them being in the bottom five made sense to me. The Pelicans, I have them over the Jazz mostly because of Zion being back. He missed most of the season, and yeah, they don't have Ingram, but Trey Murphy has been looking amazing this year. So he's kind of already replacing Ingram. Um, and yeah, Wizards is clearly the worst team, so they had to be at the bottom. Hornets, like they have Lamelo, but like they play pretend basketball. Like it's so unserious over there. And then the Jazz, I just slot them in the middle. I really don't have a reason why. Well, they're better than the Hornets, I think. I think, and they don't have any talent as good as Zion. Like Laurie Markin is good, but yeah, I think where we place them makes sense. So should we move on? Should we move on, or do you have anything else to say?
Um, no, nothing else. I think we did a pretty good explanation for these teams from 30 to 26, so I think we can move on to our next set of teams.
All right, so let's do that. 25 through 21. Let's do this. Okay. What do you got? What do you got? What do you got? Let's see. So this is definitely different.
Yeah.
Okay,
I think we have this similar set of teams, except aside from one.
yeah, similar but not the same. So would you like to read through your list?
Yeah. So, at number 25, I got the Bulls. At number 24, I got the Raptors. At number 23, I got the Nets. At number 22, I got the Spurs. And at number 21, I got the Hawks.
All right, for me, at what is it, number 25? I've got the
Yeah.
Nets, 24 Raptors, 23 Blazers, 22 Spurs, 21 Bulls. So you have the Bulls lower than me. What's your reason on that?
Um, I think that the main reason why I have the Bulls where I put them right now is because I will say this. I don't think they're a horrible team per se in the sense that like actually I feel like that's a little bit of a reach. They are a bad team. Like I feel like they're the type of team that like even though they're not a good team, find a way to be competitive in their games. And so I would have definitely liked to have put them higher. But I think because like obviously they lost Zach Levine at the trade deadline, and then they definitely got a lot weaker there. Um, I feel like that makes them just like definitely worthy of being in like for sure in the bottom 10, but like somewhere in between the 5 to 10 range. And so of bottom feeders. So I put them there just because I feel like after losing Levine, they just lost even more like star power, for example. And that's why I put them so low. Um,
No, that makes
so then right above
sense.
them, the
Like they did lose Levine, but the Bulls are so good at being so mid that like I even if they try to lose, I think they're gonna win games that they probably shouldn't. That's why I had them a little higher. But yeah, they on paper they really should be good. Like yeah, with that roster, it makes sense that you have them this low.
Yeah, and I will say it's funny because I believe like the first 1 to 2, 3 weeks of the season, we were kind of talking about like the Bulls looking like arguably one of the worst teams in the league. But then little did we know they just like randomly win games that they probably shouldn't be winning. And so then there's the meme like the Bulls are like one of the teams that refuses to tank when they should be. Um, yeah, it's funny. Um, but right above them, I put the Raptors. And honestly, Raptors could have been higher, but the thing is, like, this team is, they're not a good team. In the month of, whether it was late January or early February, they actually had a stretch where they were doing really good. Like, I remember they were on like a 5 game win streak, something like that. And they even beat some good teams too. Like, I remember they beat the Celtics in early February or like late January, so that was pretty good. Um, but yeah, obviously Raptors are a young team. They did trade for Brandon Ingram at the deadline. I haven't been keeping up, so I have no idea how he's been playing. But
I think he's still
Raptors
injured at the moment.
still injured, huh?
Yeah.
Makes sense. But yeah, I feel like Raptors maybe like 1 to 2 years, give them time, they could be like good again, like or at least like in the playoffs for sure.
Yeah.
Which is a possibility because Eastern Conference is weak. But
Hmm.
at this moment, I think that they're just too young and inconsistent. So around this range will do.
I mean, in
Um,
the East this year, the like, although they're not gonna have a winning record, they might still make the play in, which is the crazy part. But
I know
yeah,
it's funny.
what you were saying about the like their young roster, like they have good guys over there with like Quickly and Scotty Barnes. Adding Ingram is gonna help them in the future. But yeah, they still need time, and then injuries as well has plagued this team a bit. So, uh, we have the Raptors at the exact same spot, so it makes sense why they're here. I think.
Definitely. And so above them, I actually have the Nets, which you can argue Nets probably could or should be lower. Um, but the reason why I put them above the Raptors and the Bulls is kind of like what you said about the Bulls, where like they will win games that they really shouldn't be winning, like all year long. Granted, like a lot of those wins did come earlier in the year before they traded some of their key guys like Dorian Finney-Smith, Dennis Schroeder, and so forth. But even now, like this Nets team sometimes just randomly shocks you and wins games they shouldn't be winning. So that's why I have them higher on the list for unexpected wins when in reality they just shouldn't be a good team. Um, so yeah, right above them, I got the Spurs, which actually we have the Spurs at the same spot as well.
Exact spot, yeah.
And yeah, and I think one of the things about the Spurs is once Wemby went down for the season, it definitely took a dip on this list because like if Wemby was not injured for the year and he was still healthy, it would be like I think a good amount of spots higher for sure. Because they were not a bad team this year. But now, like, unfortunately, yeah, that team is done for. You lose your best player. You can't depend on a damn near 40-year-old Chris Paul to carry you to the top. That just ain't gonna happen. So I think at this point, the Spurs have to shift their focus to 2025, 2026. Hopefully Greg Popovich will be able to return by then and once again mentor Wemby because that would be really helpful for sure. And best wishes to Pop, of course. But in the meantime, this season, I think it's unfortunately a lost season for the Spurs. Kind of like a lost season for the Sixers, except the Spurs didn't really have the expectations while the Sixers did.
Yeah.
So those are the main reasons why I put the Spurs at where I put them.
Uh huh.
Um,
Yeah, it
and then
sucks
last
that
but not,
Wemby is going to be out for the rest of the season. Um,
It does.
yeah, especially since like I kind of wanted to see more of Wemby and Fox playing together. But now
Too.
that Wemby's out, I heard that Fox might get a season-ending surgery, so might as well do it since this, as you said, is the last season now. But yeah, because of the loss of Wemby, that's why I have them this low as well.
Yeah. And it makes sense because like this team could have their only hope would have been if Wemby was healthy. And unfortunately it is not meant to be anymore. But right above them at number 21, I got the Hawks. And this is another team where like they are kind of like a definition of mid, except recently they have been less than that. And they're another team like earlier in the season, we have mentioned time and time again, one of the weirdest teams in the league. Lose to the Wizards twice. And then they somehow after that they beat the elite. Like the Celtics twice, Cavs twice. They beat the Knicks and so forth. So yeah, Hawks were a really confusing team early. But it seems like lately they have been back down to the earth and just constantly losing. Obviously, losing Jalen Johnson for the season was tough there, and that played a huge factor. But the Hawks just haven't been playing good since like the last month, honestly. And I think one of the reasons why I put them this low is because of unfortunately injuries also, in particular Jalen Johnson. So that would be the reasons why I put those teams from 21 to 25. Guess any thoughts or so forth, or if you want to just jump right into your set of teams, feel free to do that as well.
I'll just piggyback off the Hawks, even though I don't have them on this like grouping. I have the Hawks like really, really like close, and yeah, like obviously as you mentioned, they had a weird season where like they had such high highs and low lows. It was very strange how well they performed. But now that Jalen Johnson is out and they made all these trades at the deadline, selling some talented players at like their peak. So I guess that's good for them for like draft capital and stuff like that. But yeah, with all of that said, I'd still be like disappointed as like a Hawks fan because like you could kind of tell like the Hawks are gonna start taking soon, and since that's gonna be what's gonna happen in the future, that Trey Young might no longer be a Hawk in the near future. But yeah, I didn't have the Hawks in this section. I had the Blazers. I'm surprised you had the Blazers higher than me, but they have like kind of had a surprisingly decent season. Like not good, obviously. They're not gonna make the play in, but they're winning a lot more than I expected. I think I expected them to be like the second worst team in the West, maybe the worst team actually. I now thinking about it, when we did this at like the beginning of the season, I think I thought the Blazers were going to be the worst team in the West, but that has not been the case. They've had some surprisingly good wins. Scoot Henderson had some decent games this year. So yeah, shout out to the Blazers. I do have them lower than you, but they're still like surprisingly decent. But yeah, I think uh I didn't really talk about the Nets, I guess, which is at my 25 spot, which you covered pretty well. Like they are a team that you don't expect them to win games, but they find ways to win, and I think their coach has helped a lot in that front, like just changing the culture there and making this team be like just a bunch of scrappy dudes, because they really don't have a star over there. They just have a bunch of decent guys that just like to play ball, and they just win games that they probably shouldn't be winning, like should be taking. But yeah, shout out to them, I guess. And honestly, I think that's it. Like, I talked about the Nets, Raptors, Blazers, Spurs, Bulls already. Um, should we move on to the next group?
Yeah, I think we're good to move on to the next group.
All right, so we're gonna move on to the top 20. 20 through 15, right? No, 20 through 16. 20
Yeah.
through 16.
20 through 16, yeah.
Yeah, so we're gonna reveal that right now. You beat me this time. Would you like to read through your list?
Yeah, I'll go ahead and do that. So at number 20, I got the Blazers. At number 19, I got the Suns. At number 18, I got the Kings. Number 17, I got the Heat. And at number 16, I got the Magic.
Okay, for me, I got at 20 the Heat, 19 the Hawks, 18 the Suns, 17 the Kings, and 16 Magic. So, very similar. I feel like at this point we've mentioned all of the same teams, just in different orders, and I think this makes sense. So this makes a lot of sense. We're at the point where like some of these teams are looking to get into the play-in. Um, but yeah, let's start with you at your 20th spot, which is the Blazers. Why do you believe the Blazers are better than the Hawks?
Yeah, and honestly, a lot of that has to do with the Blazers had like a really strong stretch from like mid to late January to now, honestly. Like, they had like a really good like month and a half. And for context, Blazers were like sneakily like one of the hottest teams in the league for a little bit, which is not something you expect from a team of that caliber. And I believe what you said was correct. Like, I'm pretty sure I also predicted the Blazers to be like definitely first or second worst in the West. But it had been shocking me quite a bit. Um, in January 19th, all the way until February 6th, Blazers ended up going, what was it? 10-1 in that stretch. So 10-1 stretch in like 3 weeks or whatever it was. And their only one loss was against OKC. So like that was impressive. And then they beat teams like I mean, kind of did beat on like mediocre teams. The best team they beat was the Bucks, I believe. They also beat the Magic twice. They won in Miami, Chicago, Orlando, Suns twice, so forth. Um, and then afterwards, they had like a little bit of a losing streak, 3-game losing streak against the Wolves, Nuggets, and Lakers. Now they're currently on a 4-game win streak again. But my point is, in the last month and a half, this Blazers team has looked like so much better than they were in the beginning of the season. Which honestly, I feel like they were not like horrendous, but they were bad, like still not good. But nonetheless, this team has shocked me quite a bit, and they're probably for sure not going to make the play in this year. But next season, might have to watch out. This young team. I will say I really do like the foundation that Chauncey Billups has built. Like, he has gotten this group together to the point where actually have been like really respectable with their efforts and like winning another team that wins games that you don't expect them to win. Except like more consistently than some of those other ones. So
Yeah.
that's why I put the Blazers ahead of the Hawks, simply due to they're trendy in the right direction and the Hawks are trendy in the wrong direction.
It's
But
interesting how you shouted out Chauncey Billups because so many Blazers fans have complained about Chauncey Billups for years and want him to be fired.
yeah,
But yeah, things are turning around for them for sure.
I will say Yeah, Chauncey did not look good in the previous seasons. But this season, he shockingly has been looking good. And yeah, I'd be rooting for the guy because he was a good, really fun player to watch during his playing days too. Um, but yeah, that would be my reasoning for the Blazers. Right above them, I have the Suns, who are having a very disappointing season. Started the season decent, but they have been really awful in the last month, especially.
I think they
Um,
started off the season 8-1, which is crazy. Like they started
it is
hot.
crazy to see.
Now they have a losing record.
Yeah, they have a losing record. Not only do they have a losing record, they also be losing against bad teams, and they're not even banged up, injured, or anything. They're healthy. Like they have Devin Booker and they have Kevin Durant playing. So like I have no idea what their issue is. I do not watch the Suns, like, and yeah, they've just been having a really bad down year. Um, Currently they are 4 games below 500. That's quite bad, and they are the 11th seed. And I've been hearing like a lot of bad stuff about Mike Budenholzer. Not that I'm shocked. I mean, I thought it was bad hiring from the jump. Um,
You did call that
he's
one.
looking probably, yeah. Like I was almost about to give him credit. Like he's proving me wrong when they were doing good early in the year. But man, did that drop in an instant. And he's looking even worse than Frank Vogel was with the Suns last year. Cause like that team at least was like respectable record and a respectable seeding. Um, Imagine the Suns do another firing after only 1 year. That would be such a bad look. Um, Anyhow, yeah, lost season for the Suns. They're currently not even in the play-in. They're the 11th seed in the Western Conference. That's bad. Um, yeah, that is why I have the Suns really low. Quite honestly, they could have been even lower, but the teams below them are just bad, so I put them where they are here. Um, so right above them, I put the Kings. The thing about the Kings is they definitely got better after they fired Mike Brown, ironically, because we all thought it was a bad firing. But after their really hot win streak immediately from the firing, they have been slowing things down a little bit since. And nonetheless, they are trending in the right direction. They probably will make the play in, but I think that's it. Like I think they're gonna lose probably their first play in game against whoever they play. I mean, right now the play-in teams are Warriors, Mavs, Timberwolves, and Kings. Easily the Kings are the worst team. So yeah, Kings honestly making the play-in is still good, just to sense that you're able to get somewhere ish, but that's about it for them. And so right above them I put the Heat, and honestly for the Heat I don't really know what I even had to say about them due to the fact like this team has been like really inconsistent. Like they were inconsistent with Jimmy Butler, they're still inconsistent now. And in the sense where like some nights they'll be playing good and they'll be beating good teams. Other nights they'll be losing games that they should be winning. Um and they're another team that I haven't really been following too closely. Um but I don't really know like how their new guys have been doing, like Andrew Wiggins and so forth. But nonetheless, they are still a 7th seed in a very weak conference. So they'll probably make the playoffs, but I think they're easily just going to probably lose in the first round. If they maintain a 7th seed, it looks like they're playing the Celtics in round one. Without Jimmy Butler, I don't see them having a chance. So, yeah, that's why I have the Heat there. And right above them, I have the Magic, who are another team that really inconsistent this year. They actually started the year obviously really good, but then once Paulo and Franz got hurt, that's when everything went downhill. And it's unfortunate because they just haven't been the same team since. And I think they're another team. They're easily going to make the playoffs. But they're probably going to be a one and done. And if the playoff picture was today, right now they're an A seed, they would have a rematch with the Cavs in the first round series last year, except instead of 4 versus 5, it would be a 1 versus 8. And I see no different result than last year, being Cavs winning. Except last year it was close competitive 4-3. I think this year would be a quick one, like 4-1, maybe even 4-0, but probably like 4-1, honestly. But yeah, those would be my teams from 20 to 16. Any thoughts or anything you'd like to say?
In regards to like your rankings, not really, because like our list is very similar. Like it's not the same, but like each team is roughly close to where we both ranked it. So I'm just gonna jump into my grouping, which I have the Heat at 20. Probably should be higher than the Hawks. I have Hawks at 19. The Heat at least has a couple All Star caliber players with Tyler Hero, with Bam. I'm sure they can definitely make the playoffs. While the Hawks probably won't make the playoffs this year. So I guess I should have switched the two. I probably should have put the Hawks below the Heat, probably below the Bulls too. I put the Hawks too high. Is what I'm getting at here. The Hawks should be lower because without Jalen Johnson, it's not looking good. Without Trae Young, it's not looking good. Well, Trae Young's not gone. I don't know why I said that, but what I should have said, without the key pieces that they traded away, like DeAndre Hunter, the team is looking worse than before. And I know they got some guys like Terrence Mann, but that doesn't move me. The Hawks, they started weirdly. They started like, again, as I mentioned already, with those high highs, lows lows, but now it's just lows. It's just lows from here on out. So yeah, I probably should have put Hawks lower. Suns maybe could be argued lower. I think I could argue the Heat being better than the Suns because the Suns are so disappointing at the moment. It's crazy. As you said, like they're playing together. Devin Booker and KD are on the floor together. I think Bradley Beal as well. Like they're playing together. I know Bull has been playing kind of well as well. And they're still ass. It's crazy. It's crazy. Like the vibes are just off. Like nobody wants to play for the Suns at the moment. Like KD, especially after the trade deadline when he was put in those trade rumors, he's not over being a Sun. It's clear as day. He doesn't want to be there anymore. So he still plays. He still gets his numbers, but he clearly doesn't care about this team anymore. And I kind of understand why. You know, it's not fun being in trade rumors, especially when you're like a star like KD. Even though, like, ironically, he's the one that likes being traded from team to team, but I digress. So yeah, Suns, honestly, I could see myself putting Suns like a spot lower to put the Heat above them. Then I have the Kings. I think you covered them pretty well. I think they're going to be a play-in team, but they will probably get bounced out of the play-in. I think the other teams are going to be better than the Kings. But now that the Suns are doing a lot worse, I think it's official that the Kings are going to make the play-in. Because at first it wasn't. Like, maybe like 2 months ago, there was a race for the play-in. Like, there was several teams that had a possibility of making the play-in, with the Spurs being involved, with the Suns being involved. But they're both out of the picture now, so Kings, welcome to the play-in, I guess. But yeah, just like last year, they're probably gonna get bounced in the first game. Actually, no, that's not true. The Kings bounced the Warriors last year. They got bounced in the second game, so my bad. And then next, the Magic, which, like, oh, what a disappointment. They started off so well, even with injury. Paulo got injured very early, and then Franz took over, and they were doing really well. Franz got injured. Paulo came back. They started doing pretty well, but once they both came back, and then Suggs got injured, that's where like shit hit the fan. Like they lost their best playmaker with Suggs, and now they're struggling. They're struggling. Like they just got destroyed by the Warriors earlier this week with Stephen Curry making like 56 points. I think he made like 12 threes. Like he was on fire. And the Magic couldn't do anything because like they suck at the moment. They do. Again, very disappointing. I was rooting for the Magic. I was even like hoping that one of them, like, whether it was Franz or Paulo, to make the All Star game, even though it wasn't realistic. But I was pushing for it, and now like, what happened? What happened? I was rooting for you guys, but what happened? So, yeah, due to how weak the East is, I could see them still making the playoffs, but they're not gonna make any waves. Like they're, I don't believe in them anymore. So yeah, that's where I have them, and yeah, we both have the Magic at the same place, which is cool. But yeah, I'm done here. Do you want to mention anything about my rankings, or should we move on to the next group?
Honestly, not too much. I think that the rankings are very reasonable. Um and yeah, I have a pretty similar range list.
All right, so let's just jump into the next grouping, and I'm gonna get my group, put it in our doc. We're doing 15 through 11 at the moment. And then boom. Hoops, would you like to go through your list?
Yeah, I'll do that. So this is where our lists get a little bit more different. Um so at number 16 or 15, yeah. Number 15, I got the Pistons. At number 14, I got the Clippers. Number 13, I got the Warriors. Number 12, I got the Mavs. And at number 11, I got the Pacers. So, actually, yeah, you can reveal your list first.
Okay, cool. So at 15, I have the Clippers. 14, the Timberwolves. 13, the Pistons. 12, the Rockets. 11, the Pacers. And for me, like right off the bat, I think the most surprising is seeing the Warriors this low. Um, I'll have you explain like your reasoning on your rankings, but at the moment, like that's definitely the one I'm surprised about.
Yeah, and I'll get there momentarily. So, the Pistons, obviously, having a um, very impressive season. Many people, including us, expected them to be another bottom feeder once again this year, and little did we know they are above 500 and in the playoff picture. And I think what's even more shocking is that they're doing that with JB Bickerstaff, who was not known to be a good head coach as the Cavs, and yet somehow he changed the philosophy in Detroit. So kudos to him. And so Detroit will more than likely be in the playoffs this year. Good for them as well. Will they win a playoff series? To be determined. But nonetheless, great progress, great improvement from last year. So Pistons, a pretty good jump from one of the worst to one of the middle of the pack. So right above them, the Clippers, who are definitely having a little bit of a disappointing season. Granted, Kawhi was out for like the first 3 months or whatever it was. But even when he has come back, like they have been really, really up and down team. Like some stretches they look really good, other stretches they be losing games that they should be winning. But Clippers, could be higher, but I put them here due to not meeting expectations. So now, the Warriors. So, obviously, they've been doing really good lately ever since they got Jimmy Butler on the team. And they have been looking night and day like a lot better team. But, the reason why I have them at this spot is honestly just due to the fact that, like, well, one, I think some of the teams above them have like a little bit more upside in terms of whether it's the star power or the camaraderie, consistency is in the team. And then two, like, I feel like the Warriors, as impressive as their streak is, granted they did have a few good wins, like they beat the Rockets and the Mavs. Um, but contrary to the Lakers, who have a pretty tough schedule in the month of March, the Warriors' March schedule is kind of soft. Not gonna lie. Aside from the Knicks, Pistons, and I think it's mostly I don't remember who else they're playing that's like decent, but they're playing a lot of bad teams this month. So Warriors are definitely gonna jump quite a few spots up in the standings. But I think that once I see the Warriors play another like good team at full strength, that's when it'd be like, okay, maybe now we have like a very clear idea where this team is. So part of the reason why I have the Warriors, I guess a little bit low, if you want to call it, is due to the fact that we just haven't had a big enough sample size for this team to rank them too high, in my opinion. Um, but yeah, right above them, I have the Mavs, who are another team that has been quite different since the trade deadline. Obviously, going from Luka to AD. Um, Now they also have Max Christie on their team, who has been doing really good for them. So shout out to him. Um, and definitely stings losing him from the Lakers for sure, because he was a nice piece for us. But it is what it is. We got Luka, so we can't complain too much. But yeah, Mavs. I think obviously at the moment, like they're kind of up and down. They were really good the first few games after a trade, and then they started losing lately. But bring back a healthy AD, and I think the sky's the limit for this team. Honestly, like they will do better for sure. Um, and then this is where like my list kind of has like some skeptic decision making, shall we say? So Pacers, I put them above the Mavs, which you can argue they should be lower. But the reason why I put them high, if you want to call it, even though we actually have them at the same exact spot, I think it's fair, if anything, more so just like the rankings of the team placement. Um, I put the Pacers here because like consistency, honestly, I mean like they were the fifth seed last year and currently they are the fifth seed again. And obviously they could be a little bit up and down, but overall they have a solid foundation built in Indiana. And although Tyrese Halliburton is having a down year, the team is still pretty good. So that is why I had the Pacers at number 11. Um, any thoughts on my list before you go over yours?
Uh, yeah, I guess I understand your Warriors like take, I guess, because you're right. We haven't seen a lot of Jimmy and Steph together, but so far it's looking great. I think they've won like 7 out of their last 8 games together. Um, and like the fit is making more sense the more I watch their games. Like with Steph, we all know he loves shooting the three. Jimmy Butler's not that guy. He doesn't shoot threes. He drives. He drives a lot, and he gets fouled a lot. And that's where, the Warriors kind of, that's something that they need. So, seeing them together on the court honestly makes sense, and it sparked a lot of life into Curry's uh, game because early this year he had like 2 point games. We were thinking he was slowly becoming washed again. So it was kind of crazy how like he came back and started looking amazing again. So yeah, I have them a lot higher because of Jimmy Butler. Even though I'm not a Jimmy Butler believer like that, I have them higher, and especially since they're a bunch of veterans that have been there, done that. At least a few of them, like we know, Steph and Draymond. Adding Butler's gonna help as well. So yeah, I have them higher for that reason. I'll explain more, I guess, even though I went through a lot already. But yeah, I'll cover them more later. Let me actually go through my list though, starting at 25, the Clippers, who like the Clippers are always like good. No matter the roster, they're just good. Ty Lue is an amazing coach. He could get the best out of the most random players. Like today against the Lakers, Dunn. I forgot his first name. I can't believe I forgot his first name. But Dunn was cooking the Lakers early on.
Done.
Sorry, what?
Chris is his
Chris
first name.
Chris Dunn. Yes, yes, yes. He was
Yeah.
cooking the Lakers early in the first quarter. Like he averaged 6 points the season, and he got 6 points in like the first 5 minutes of the game. It was crazy, but yeah, the Clippers always find a way to win games. Not today, but they always find a way to win games. So I have them in the mid part of the rankings because of that. Then I have the Timberwolves, who pretty disappointing this season, but we kind of expected that was going to be the case with Julius Randle being on the roster instead of Cat. But yeah, I mean, even though Anthony Edwards is amazing, I really don't believe in this current roster. And with the West being so good this year, that yeah, that's why I have them this low. Which I noticed that you don't have them this low. I guess you're more of a believer for the Timberwolves. Yeah. Okay. Um. Then next up, I have the Pistons. Surprisingly, like an amazing season for them. Like we did not expect this at all, but I guess with the added veterans, they help a lot. They really, really did, and Kate Cunningham looks like a even better version of what he has been throughout the last few years, where I thought he's been like an all-star caliber player, but now he's like even exceeded that. He finally became an all-star this year, but he's truly like a star now in the league. So it's cool to see him finally shining for the Pistons. And I could definitely see them making the playoffs. Not even like the play-in, just straight up in the playoffs, like a top 6 team in the East for sure. And I guess one of my hotter takes is the Rockets being at my number 12 spot. At one point they were the second best team in the West. That's no longer the case. And although they're good, they have a lot of scrappy young guys over there. I like Shingun. Ahmed Thompson is starting to look like a star. They still don't have that true superstar that they probably need during crunch time, especially in the playoffs. So, because of that and the lack of experience, I really don't see them going far this year in the playoffs whatsoever. If they make it, I think they're just gonna be a first round exit, honestly. That's why I have them this low. And then the Pacers are next. Doing better than expected, I guess. Because, they had so many ups and downs, but they've been looking like the best team since 2025. Like, since this new year, they've been like the best team, surprisingly. And, we've talked about how Halliburton, looked disappointing at times, but at other times he's looking like, what was it, 2023 December Halliburton, where he was going off in the the in-season tournament. So shout out to them. Siakam is looking great. That's why he was an all-star this year. And just again, we have the Pacers. We have another placement that is exactly the same. Anything you want to cover on my list? Like, are you surprised that I have the Rockets this low, or does everything make sense to you?
Definitely a little bit shocked about the Rockets being this low, but I think some of the points you made were reasonable there. So honestly, not too upset about it. Um, aside from that, I think we are good to move into our top 10 now.
Top 10 time, ladies and gentlemen. Top 10. What you got? What you got? I'm taking a while, but I'm going. And then, yeah, here we go. Hoops. Would you like to go over your list?
Yes, sir. So, number 10, I got the Timberwolves, 9 Bucks, 8 Rockets, 7 Grizzlies, and 6 Knicks.
Okay, interesting. I feel like this means we're gonna have the same top five, which is what we predicted earlier. Because, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think we have the same team so far. 30
I
through
think so.
6. So, yeah.
So, looks like it.
At number 10 for me, I have the Mavericks. Number 9, Grizzlies. 8, Warriors. 7, Bucks. 6, Knicks. So, some similarities, some differences. Would you like to go over your reasons on why you have your list like that?
Yeah, I'll go ahead and do that. So, starting with the Timberwolves at number 10. Obviously they've been having a really up and down season. They should be better than how they are coming off a Western Conference Finals appearance. But something about this team just really, I guess, has me having maybe more confidence than I should, in the sense that, like, I think that they will find a way to, like, get over the hump down the stretch. Now, it all depends on their seeding. If they can find a way to, like, climb up to, like, the 5th seed, for example, or like the 6th seed, would they beat their opponent? Maybe not. At the same time, like, they might be a sleeper pick for, like, a first round upset potentially. Unfortunately, that's probably as far as they go this year. That being said, I do think that Timberwolves could be a potential upset watch team, so that's why I have them this high. Number 9, I got the Bucks. And definitely a team that could be argued to be higher. One thing about this team is they've been a little bit too inconsistent to me for me to, like, fully trust them when it matters most. And obviously Doc Rivers is still their head coach, so that's another, like, demise there. And I'm rooting for this team because I always like the Bucks as a franchise, love Giannis, you name it. But at this moment, I think around this range will probably do for me. Um, Number 8, Rockets. They've been having an impressively good season, and so I think that somewhere in the top 10 is where they belong. However, I feel like there's some of these other teams that are just better than them, so this is why I put them where they are. So, number 7, the Grizzlies. So I will admit, from this range, this is where I made, like, a few changes towards, like, the end. In the sense, like, I kind of had some of these teams maybe higher or lower, and then I made some tweaks. The thing about the Grizzlies is they're having a really good season, bounce back from last year. Last year they were not healthy, now they are healthy. And we all expect them to be good, and damn were they. But recently, I think they have been losing a little bit more, and I think they could probably be good enough to win at least one series in the playoffs. But that's when you start questioning, like, how much further can they get after when they play the best of the elite, and that is just a question mark to me. But nonetheless, a good ranking for the Grizzlies at number 7. And so number 6, we actually both have the New York Knicks here. And here's another thing about the Knicks. Also a little inconsistent. Um, I saw earlier this week that one of the embarrassing stats they have is 0-7 against the top three teams in the league, which is not good, obviously. Nonetheless, the Knicks still are a good team. They just need to find ways to find wins against the elite. If they do that, they will be a problem. But nonetheless, even though they are not good against the very top teams, they are still overall really good team, and that is why I have them at number 6. So that would be my list from number 10 to 6. I will now shift to Memo for any thoughts and opinions before going over his list.
Honestly, it all makes sense to me. Like, we don't have these teams too far. I feel like the Grizzlies and Rockets maybe should be lower because, like, Rockets definitely lack of experience, and Grizzlies hasn't really shown throughout the years that they are a good playoff team. Like, they always make the playoffs. They've been good at making the playoffs, but when it comes to playing in the playoffs, they've been somewhat disappointing throughout the years. Um, so I would lower them and put like a Bucks ahead because of, you know, they've been there, they've done that. I would put the Warriors ahead because they've been there, they've done that. But that's just my opinion on that. But yeah, let me go over mine. So at 10, I had the Mavs, and this is definitely projecting. Like, this is all assuming that AD will be back relatively soon, and they can finish the season off with AD, and have a great record with him. We've seen how great Kyrie has been playing as of late. Um, he's truly been taking advantage of his new role and has been playing very well for the Mavs at the moment. Um, so having him and AD come together will be a really cool thing to watch. This is just, again, assuming that they could be healthy and back together. But, well, we'll see. We'll see, I guess. Then I have the Grizzlies. So I think they're a good team. Jaren Jackson Jr. has improved a lot this year. It's a good thing John Morant is back. That's nice. They have a good roster. But I don't have them high because of, they really haven't shown that they are like a really good playoff team. So that's why I have them there. Warriors, maybe a bit high. I think this might be our biggest discrepancy, maybe, between two teams. I have the Warriors higher than you for sure. And I already went over, like, for the most part, why I believe this is the case. They, with Jimmy Butler, there's just a new light, it's a new spark in the organization. Like, the vibes were off, but now the vibes are up again. And unless, Draymond Green and Jimmy Butler start fighting with each other, I do see them, like, doing very well. And maybe make a playoff push. Of course, they are currently in the play-in. I don't know if they'll make the 6th seed. That will be very difficult for them to do, I'm sure. But I guess never say never. You never know. But they're for sure going to make the play-in. And if they make the playoffs through the play-in, they will definitely be a tough out. So that's why I have them there. And then I have the Bucks above them at 7. Maybe a bit high, but it's hard to count out Giannis. Giannis is a top 3 player in the league. Damian Lillard and Giannis have been playing very well together this season. I'm not a big believer in Kuzma, but, at least he plays, which we couldn't really say about Chris Middleton throughout the last few seasons. I mean, Chris Middleton was looking okay when he came back this season, but again, he's often injured. So I have the Bucks here, and at number 6, just like you, I have the Knicks I thought about putting them in the top five, but as you mentioned, they suck against the best teams in the league. They have a losing record against the Celtics, the Thunder, the Cavs. So for me, uh, I couldn't put them in the top five. But still a great team. They're gonna be a good regular season team, but I don't have a lot of high hopes for them in the playoffs. But yeah, anything you want to say before we reveal the top five?
Honestly, not too much. I think most of the things you said were reasonable. Obviously, we have a really high discrepancy between the Warriors, and I believe you're right. Probably is the highest discrepancy, but I think they are going to be really good down the road as long as chemistry keeps going up. And a lot of the other things you said about the other teams are all reasonable as well. Obviously, the Knicks, good regular season team, but they just struggle against the top elite. And then Grizzlies, really good regular season, haven't really got it done in the playoffs. And then Bucks, we know like they have their concerns like Kuz inconsistency, Doc Rivers head coach, you name it. Overall, I think most of the things you said were reasonable, and I think we are good now to go into our top five.
All right, let's do that. So for sure, our top five are gonna be the same five teams. The order, I'm not sure if we'll get it right, but let's see. Let's see. I'm hoping it's the same. But okay.
Ooh, okay.
So close.
A little similar, yeah.
So close. Okay, you want to go over yours?
Yeah. So number five, I got the Lakers. Number four, the Nuggets. Number three, I got the Cavs. Number two, Celtics. And at number one, I got the Thunder.
And mine is basically the same. I have the Lakers at five, but I switched the Nuggets and Cavs. So Cavs is my number four, then Nuggets at three, Celtics at two, Thunder at one. So I guess you could go over your group and then just mention why you believe the Cavs are better than the Nuggets, which I could already see an argument for it for sure. But you can go over your list.
Yeah, so I will say, when I was making my top five, I had a little bit of a debate between like Lakers and Nuggets, but ultimately I put the Nuggets higher, and so here is why. Obviously for the Lakers, post they have been looking really good in the last month, and it's they had the thing that really upset me is the fact that like the Lakers had such a good February stretch that they could have had a perfect month of February if not for those two damn dumb losses against the Jazz and the Hornets. Like, come on, man. But nonetheless, still really impressive month. So clearly trending in the right direction. But the reason why I have the Lakers at five is simply due to the fact that obviously the center depth. Losing AD was such a big hit at the center position. Granted, Jackson Hayes has been playing great, but the depth behind him is what is getting a little bit questionable. Obviously, we got Trey Jameson. He's a pretty good energy spark guy on a two-way. Christian Koloko also on a two-way. But it's like you just don't know how much you can depend on two-way G leaguers to do like a real big contribution to your team. You can hope for the best, but you just can't really realistically depend on it. But that's why the Lakers I have at five, simply due to center position, really. Number four, the Nuggets. So obviously Nuggets are having a little bit of a down year this year, but nonetheless they're still a good team. And at the end of the day, I think that what could get them over the top would be their championship experience and their playoff experience. Granted, like their team's a little bit different, no longer having KCP, Bruce Brown, you name it. But Joker, obviously, his leadership and getting his guys together, I think he could really get this unit going when it matters most. So that's why I have the Nuggets at four. But at number 3, I have the Cavs, and this is where we had like the two teams flip flop. So the reason why I have the Cavs higher than the Nuggets, honestly, I think that they look better this season. Now obviously we all know like Cavs are a team that kind of disappoint in the playoffs time and time again. I don't know if that's gonna change this year, but I'm rooting for them to change it. Obviously, cause like fuck Boston, but yeah, hopefully the Cavs can get over the hump. I think that so far so good. The team has been looking good. Also, nice impressive comeback win against the Celtics tonight. We actually caught the ending today, so that was good to see for sure. Play more like that, and this team might be able to actually go far into playoffs. So that is why I had the Cavs at 3. Number 2, I got the Celtics, obviously defending champions, and still very deep, looking like they're still the team to beat in the Eastern Conference for sure. They have been a little bit inconsistent at times, obviously losing. Last season, they'd be blowing teams out. This season, it'd be closer a lot of times. And even losing the teams that they should be beating. And obviously, that collapse against the Cavs was not a good look at all, obviously. But in a 7-game series, it's hard to really predict one of those Eastern Conference teams to take them down, unfortunately. I hope we're wrong, and I hope the Cavs do it. But until it happens, the Celtics are definitely the team to beat in the Eastern Conference. But at number 1, I got the Oklahoma City Thunder. And that's just simply due to the fact that their team just looks so damn good and stacked top down on paper. And great coaching by Mark Daigneault. He's doing a really great job there. And Shai Gilgeous-Alexander having a MVP caliber season. And things are looking good. I think it's OKC's championship to lose, honestly. So there we have it. I will now hand over the reins to Memo for thoughts and reaction.
Let me just go over my list so I can explain like our switch, because like I do understand your point for sure. What you said about the Cavs looking like definitely a better team than the Nuggets. Like they do have like one of the best records in the league, so that all makes sense to me. But yeah, I'll go over that soon. Right now, I do want to talk about the Lakers, which before the trade definitely would not be a top 5 team. I think they're barely in the top 5 of the West at the moment, like seeding wise. But you know, they've had a great stretch as of late. Even without Luka, half of the stretch was without Luka. And yet they're currently looking really good. They don't have a center. That's a huge concern. I do not see them winning a chip this year without a good center. No offense to Jackson Hayes, but like you're not that guy. Like you're looking good at the moment with Luka helping you get easy buckets. I saw some great like hustle plays from him too, some cool blocks, but he's no 80. He's definitely no 80. So because of the lack of center, which that's just a huge concern for me, because we're likely gonna face the Nuggets. It feels like we always face the Nuggets in the playoffs, so we need a lot of centers to deal with that guy, Nikola Jokic. But we did beat the Nuggets recently, but in a 7-game series, I don't know. So that's why I have them at 5. 4 Cavs. So I have them at 4 under the Nuggets. And it's not even really because of anything bad necessarily. It's just, you know, I want to see this iteration of the Cavs in the playoffs again. I know this is essentially the same team from last year, but obviously it's all new vibes, you know, with the new coach and everything. The team is looking a lot different. And also they have DeAndre Hunter too, which helps. So they have DeAndre Hunter, right? Yeah. So, you know, there's just I have more question marks for the Cavs than I do for the Nuggets. That's the only reason why I have them for. Not the only reason, because the second reason why I have the Nuggets at 3 is because of Nikola Jokic. Like, he is the best player in the league. I trust him a lot, uh, and I could see the Nuggets making a push in the playoffs. I could see them making it to the Western Conference Finals, and maybe everything falls the line and they could make the finals as well. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if that would happen because of how great Nikola Jokic is and how great of a teammate he is. He helps his teammates become better. Like, we thought Westbrook was washed, and now he's looking like a great role player at the moment. Um, and yeah, seeing Jamal Murray, coming together a bit, the Nuggets are going to be a good playoff team. I think that is safe to say. That's why I have them at 3 over the Cavs. I don't know if they're better than the Celtics. And, the Celtics did win the chip last year. They still have the same roster, essentially. So, I'm putting them over the Nuggets. As you mentioned, they've had some tough, rough games this year. They're not blowing out as many teams as they did last year. Last year was like a cakewalk for them. This year, I think will be more difficult, but still, I do see them making the finals. I wouldn't be surprised if the Cavs beat them and make the finals, but I really do think the Celtics will make the finals this year. And yeah, I just hope they choke like today. That's what I'm really hoping for. I hope Jason Tatum becomes cringe like today and be like, "Get out of here," just to lose in Game 7 or whatever. That's what I'm hoping for. We'll see. But yeah, even though they won the chip last year, I do think OKC is the better team. I think now they have a better roster. They have a better center, a better point guard. Um, Honestly, a better, I guess, second option. I think it's safe to say J Dub is better than Jaylen Brown at the moment, which is crazy to say. I know Jaylen Brown is established; he is a Finals MVP, but J Dub is insanely good on both ends of the floor. I guess there are concerns for OKC because last year, since they were so young, the young guys didn't step up like Shea. And even in the in-season tournament, it was kind of looking like a one-man show over there for Shea. But, I feel like they're going to figure it out this time and make the finals and hopefully win the chip over the Celtics. We'll see, but
I
yeah.
hope so too.
Yeah, I really hope so. So, yeah, I think OKC is great. They have an amazing roster from top to bottom. A lot of great defense, a lot of great perimeter defenders. They have Chet now. He's been kind of in and out, but he's basically back now. I think he just had a game where he had 17 rebounds, is like his career high. Everything's looking great for the Thunder, so I put them at number 1. You also did. And yeah, those are our lists. Very similar, right? Not the same throughout 30 through 1, but still, I think we did a pretty good job.
Definitely, I think despite some differences, for the most part, the list was relatively similar. So it was a good ranking for sure. But I think at this point in time, shall we re list our full rankings to the audience one more time?
Yeah, we could do that quickly. So you could go first.
For sure. So at number 30, I got the Wizards. Number 29, I got the Hornets. 28, Jazz. 27, Pelicans. 26, Sixers. 25, Bulls. 24, Raptors. 23, Nets. 22, Spurs. 21, Hawks. 20, Blazers. 19, Suns. 18, Kings. 17, Heat. 16 Magic, 15 Pistons, 14 Clippers, 13 Warriors, 12 Mavs, 11 Pacers, 10 Timberwolves, 9 Bucks, 8 Rockets, 7 Grizzlies, 6 Knicks, 5 Lakers, 4 Nuggets, 3 Cavs, 2 Celtics, and sitting at the top at number 1, I got the Oklahoma City Thunder. So those are my post trade deadline power rankings for the NBA.
My power rankings go like this: at 30 Wizards, 29 Hornets, 28 Jazz, 27 Pelicans, 26 Sixers, 25 Nets, 24 Raptors, 23 Blazers, 22 Spurs, 21 Bulls, 20 Heat, 19 Hawks, 18 Suns, 17 Kings, 16 Magic, 15 Clippers, 14 Timberwolves, 13 Pistons, 12 Rockets, 11 Pacers, 10 Mavericks, 9 Grizzlies, 8 not Wizards, definitely not Wizards, 8 Warriors, 7 Bucks, 6 Knicks, top 5, number 5, Lakers at number 5, 4 Cavs, 3 Nuggets, 2 Celtics, and at number 1, at the tippity top, is the Oklahoma City Thunder. Let us know how we did. We were very close to each other. Hopefully, you guys agree with our lists. Let us know in the comments. But yeah, that's basically it. If you want, if you're on YouTube, like the video, subscribe, leave a comment. That'd be great. If you're on an audio platform like Spotify, Apple Podcasts, leave a 5-star rating and review. That would be great. Check out our socials like TikTok, Twitter. Hoops, is there anything you want to say before we head out?
Yeah, just pretty much per usual. Thank you guys for the constant support to our channel. We would not be where we are today without you guys. If you guys like our content, make sure to continue to like, comment, subscribe, share. Follow us on all platforms: YouTube, Spotify, Twitter, TikTok, you name it. And definitely stay tuned for our upcoming content because, per usual, we find ways to make bangers like this one. So thank you guys.
Yeah, thank you. We'll see you all next week. Goodbye.